views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
This is Patricia Hunter, Patty Hunter, Patty's Page. Thank you for coming on to my show. Steve Shine, my guest. How are you, sir?
I am fine, thank you. Always a pleasure to be on your program, and I enjoy going into my TV room at home and watching on Xfinity this broadcast. It's been 2 years now in a row that we've been doing this, and it's always a pleasure.
So we got a lot of talk about today, you know. So hang in there, kid. We're just starting.
Okay, I've got my seatbelt tightened.
Yeah, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Okay, let's talk about what's been happening to Donald Trump recently. We all know that within 2 or 3 weeks, has it been? How long has it been now since someone, crooks, had tried to assassinate Donald Trump?
Well, by the time this show airs, I'm assuming it will be much longer than that. But as far as the date that we're taping this, it was back at the end of June. I want to say around June 26th, right in that area. Obviously, a massive failure of security. Depending on who you listen to, it was either local agencies, county agencies, federal agencies, whomever is to blame. Obviously, the situation, the security situation, was not under control, and I don't want to say we avoided catastrophe, because an innocent family man taking his family to a political rally, one of the most strident rights we have in America, to view the political process that closely, resulted in the death of this wonderful firefighter from nearby Butler, Pennsylvania. Very sad for he and his family. Certainly when he got up this morning, thank you. Certainly when he got up that morning, it was going to be a day of joy for he and his wife and his child, with no idea what tragedy awaited him.
Have they still trying to figure out why crooks did it in the first place?
Well, I don't know if there is too much needed to think about it. The gentleman obviously had an emotional problem, a mental ailment, a mental health ailment.
Right.
And Donald Trump, as well as others, were on his hit list. And it just seemed that the first in time for him to attempt to carry out his plan was with Donald Trump being at a nearby location as to where the assailant lived.
So the security people, Secret Service, you might say, did they know ahead of time he was in the area? They showed several pieces of news on TV about them knowing that he was in the area, but they didn't do anything, or what happened? I'd like to get more about that.
Well, obviously, I'm not an expert on it. I only know what you probably know and hear. But from what I have gathered, the assailant was not on the radar before that fateful day. He had no issues which would have called to the attention of law enforcement what he was up to. On the day that he got there, I think I would have been immediately tipped off if somebody within a few hundred feet was operating a drone. That to me would be something that should not have been permitted. Then, from what I can tell, he was spotted not only on the ground in advance of President Trump taking to the stage, but then also spotted on the rooftop. So the failures were very close in time to the entry of President Trump onto the stage. But I don't think that there would have been any forewarning, like months or weeks ahead of time when
No, there was no warning at all. His parents didn't know anything about what he was going to do as well, I suppose.
I'm sure they're in shock,
Yeah.
and we grieve for them too, provided they had no culpability whatsoever. Certainly, handing a child a gun is not the most innocent thing in the world, but obviously he had some interest in guns because he was on the rifle team at his high school, albeit my understanding he was removed from the class because he was so poor at what he was doing. But I think that from what we learned in the mass shooting at the high school, and I believe it was Michigan, where both the mother and father were held culpable for perpetuating the disaster that occurred by providing the gun and not being alert to what was going on. Again, as parents, we need to be very alert to what our children are up to.
There was no warning to the parents, so I guess they were, I grieve for them, you know. I grieve. Now, apparently, Crooks, I understood, was working with, or had alleged to be working with something, black something. What was that? Black.
I have no idea what that was. His background is a bit confusing to me.
Yeah, it is to me.
He was a registered Republican, but his only political donation was to a left-leaning Democrat group. It really is confusing as to what that might have been. So I'm not qualified to opine on who he may have been connected with.
So like you said, he had a drone.
Yes, that's my understanding. Is he actually flew the drone several hours in advance above the location where the president was to speak. That in itself would be a tip off to me if I were in law enforcement. And I'm sure that given the few hours in between the drone flying and President Trump taking the stage, that some degree of law enforcement presence had to be there. There's no doubt that and again, when I say there's no doubt, this is just my feeling. So in my opinion, there would have been no doubt that the Secret Service should have been on site at that time when the drone flew over the rally area because they need to stand guard and be aware of what is going on the ground.
Just like 9/11. No one knew.
No one knew, that is correct, but there were more, in my opinion, there were more hints as to what was going to happen with President Trump than there was with 9/11. There were several warnings in advance of the attempted assassination, whereas there was really, maybe you'd have to really think hard about it, but these individuals who caused 9/11 to occur were in flight school and were from countries other than the United States. And maybe they didn't practice their landing techniques. They were only went through enough on how to fly. So, but that would have taken a lot more connecting the dots than someone flying a drone and being on the ground with a rangefinder. That to me tipped you off much more.
How did the Republican Party, how did they react soon
Well, we
after?
have great sympathy to the president. We'd have great sympathy whether it was a Republican or a Democrat. That's not
Yes,
the kind of country we're supposed to live in. If you want to do that, go to Venezuela, where you can see a third world country uh, basically mirroring some of the situations we have here in the United States. We should have the right and the freedom to speak our minds, but without violence. Words need to be met with words, not weapons or violence. We're free to speak whatever we want to say. If those words don't come out right, then there's a cause of action for defamation, which
right.
is using the legal system to correct what was said. But there's nothing to be able to correct a death or injury to a person that is permanent. And political violence is absolutely not to be tolerated in this
That's
country.
right. So people here, the Republican senators and congressmen here in Fort Wayne area, did you talk with them when this had happened to our?
I did not. I'm sure it's upsetting to everyone who is in the Republican Party. It should be upsetting to Democrats too. I would have felt the same way if it happened to the then candidate Joe Biden. He has every right to go on stage, just as President Trump does, and say what's on his mind. That's what freedom of speech is all about. And when we look at the Constitution, perhaps that is the foremost amendment to the Constitution, or the foremost provision of the Constitution, is freedom of speech, your First Amendment rights. And it is aptly stated, First Amendment, because it protects what this country is all about and made of.
Life is sacred.
It is sacred.
Now that Biden had stepped down, you might say, and what's her name? Kamala.
No, Kamala.
Kamala.
Yes.
You think that she will win?
Well, I'm hoping not, but it certainly is a different race. It's not a race against someone who was faltering without question. There's new energy in the Democrat Party, but I'm hoping that observing that new energy in the Democrat Party will put the Republicans on notice.
Yes.
That it's going to have to be some very, very hard work done. It's not going to be the cakewalk that it promised to be against Joe Biden. We now need to rally our troops. We need to get our message out. We need to get our voters out. We need to get new voters registered. We need to, most importantly, show the dichotomy, the difference between a Republican administration and a Democrat administration. I think one of the most, a big difference. And I think one of the most telling reasons is that in 2019, which was in her last term of the United States Senate, before becoming a vice presidential candidate and then eventually vice president, that an independent government or an independent not-for-profit organization that checks facts and statistics indicated that Kamala Harris was the most liberal Democratic senator in the United States Senate. And that means more liberal than Bernie Sanders. I didn't think that was possible to have a United States senator that was more liberal than Bernie Sanders. But yet, a not-for-profit organization that favors neither party designated Kamala Harris as the most liberal senator in the United States Senate. I don't think that's what our country wants. I don't think they want someone so far left of center that we're going to get even more exaggerated government than we've had in the last 4 years. And we need to get it corrected now.
Well, how can we go about this? What she's
Well,
trying to do is get more abortions in?
Well, I would say that she has a different view on the sanctity of life than many of the members of the base of the Republican Party have. And I would suggest that those kind of groups, the same groups that rally in support for the left-leaning agenda of the Democrat Party, need to realize that now is the time to abide by the call of your country and to set the country on the right track after the 4 years of experiencing what the Biden administration has given. Whether that is with their position on the sanctity of children who have not even had a chance to fend for themselves from out of the womb, to the fact that selective individuals' obligations to the United States government are forgiven in the form of student loan forgiveness. I mean, would I like the idea? Yes, but I didn't get that. I didn't get that when I paid off my student loan going to Indiana University and then to law school. I paid on that all the way through many years of practice in law.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't want to begrudge anybody that, but again, the rules can't be changed in the middle of the game, so to speak. It shows favoritism, if not favoritism, then something to entice individuals to vote for the party who makes such a move.
You think that the immigrants that are illegal, you think they're going to be voting? Will Kamala do that? Allow them
Well,
to vote?
if you have to show that you're a citizen of the United States to vote. But I would say that the immigration problem is the number one problem in this country. It has a ripple effect on all of the problems that it causes. Everything from interfering with other individuals to be able to be in the workforce. Certainly crime is an issue. Certainly overpopulation of cities.
Oh, yeah.
Burdens on their services, which are often limited. And then that, has an effect where in order to provide service, some states have to raise their tax rates to be able to keep up with that. Has a terrible ripple effect. And we need to get a control of that. Kamala Harris was overseen a significant degree of the border issue, and she failed miserably, and that's a problem.
So it's an open border, as we say. Anything, anyone.
I would say it's a sieve more than open. There may be safeguards that are in place, but like a sieve, there's holes in it. And there's a lot of individuals who are able to go through those little holes in the sieve and resulting in the problems that we're experiencing.
What can we, people who believe in Republicans' way of thinking, here in Fort Wayne or Allen County or around the nation, what can we do, citizens, to help the Republicans?
And thank you for asking that, Patty. Hopefully those people who want to help are registered to vote. If you haven't registered to vote, then either go online to the Secretary of State's office, to the voter registration portal, or the voter registration office in the Rousseau Center downtown. Go to the License Bureau and register to vote. I am assuming, though, that most of the people we're talking to today have been registered, are registered voters, and that then shifts what their burden is on them to, and I shouldn't call it a burden, let's say their obligation is to get out and vote on November the 5th, or vote by absentee ballot, which will start in the middle of September. Ballots will be mailed out to people who apply for them, or visit the Rousseau Center on, I believe it's beginning on October the 8th or 9th is the first day you can go downtown and vote. And then a couple of weeks closer to the election day, there will be satellite voting locations. I think there's about 4 of them, if I'm not mistaken, that will be open for people to visit to make it more convenient. So it's very important that people just either don't think we have it in the bag or think we have it in the bag, which I, for one, am not one of those. I'm running the election operation as if we're behind. There is such a great deal of enthusiasm simply by the resignation of the top of the ticket without any forward thinking of what that may be if we elect a Democrat candidate. That we need to get out there and rally our troops.
Human lives are at stake here, but from the womb to the tomb, our lives are at stake here. We're hoping that the Republicans themselves get elected as president and the head honchos of this fair country of ours.
And I don't want to forget also our local Republican candidates.
Yes.
Most of them are unopposed, but 4 of them are not. Specifically, the 3 county council at-large candidates, consisting of Bob Armstrong, former Sheriff Ken Freeze, and newcomer Lindsey Hammond. All 3 of them have a competition as Democrats on the other side.
Oh dear.
And I want to urge your listeners to not only vote for Bob Armstrong, Ken Freeze, and Lindsey Hammond, but to also remember, and this is critical, I cannot emphasize this enough, if there's one message regarding the local races that you should take from this, is the fact that if you vote a straight Republican ticket, you still have to vote again at the bottom of the ballot for the county council at-large candidates. If you don't select the 3 Republicans again, your vote for that race will be lost. So vote a straight Republican ticket and then vote again at the bottom of the ballot for the at-large candidates. And I mentioned one other thing too, our county coroner, which I'm not too concerned about his race in the sense that he is one of the most revered elected officials in the county and just a super individual and has worked so hard. John Brandenburger, he too has a Democrat opponent, but I'm very hopeful that he, as he was in the past, will be the ticket leader because of his positive notoriety in the community.
I noticed that several Republicans have retired this year. Commissioner Nelson Peters, and I forget about the other one, but I'm hoping that they can get good people taking over.
Well, Nelson Peters was an outstanding public official. He has been on county council. He was human resources director for the city of Fort Wayne, for Allen County. He will be missed, but the individual who is replacing him, whose name is Ron Turpin, just a super great guy. Ron is a great guy, very, very intelligent, and has both his law degree and is a CPA. which are two wonderful attributes to bring to the commissioner's office. He is unopposed. So we are going to be blessed with his guidance of being elected without him having to worry about being opposed.
And you know, this is towards the end of the show, my friend.
Already?
Yeah, it's almost 25 minutes, kiddo.
Goes fast when you're having fun.
Oh, my stars. A lot of very important topics we talked about today. And thank you, sir.
Pleasure, Patty. I know you have a cavalcade of guests who are on, and I feel honored to be with you. So when you call, I try to oblige what you've asked me to do.
And continue, people, watching my show, but because every weekend there's always something new coming down. So we say adios, mi amigo, eh? My friend.
Well, as long as you're a legal immigrant, I guess those words are fine.
You're not, but that's okay.
Take care.
We'll see you next week. Thank you. God bless.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my love. God is with us always, for the rest of all our lives.